Hey guys, it's Riddell here, and today we're going to be talking about something very different, something I definitely have never done on this channel. We're going to be talking about some game news. Particularly, we're going to be talking about a little bit more of a niche franchise today. We're going to talk about Klonoa, who may be rising from the grave as we speak. So if you don't know, a few days ago, some people announced, I don't know what you call it, a copyright had been placed for Klonoa Encore. And now this is a big deal because this shares the same name as Katamari Damacy Reroll in Japan, which is called Katamari Damacy Encore, which is, of course, a Namco game that they I say remade when it's more like it's just upscaled, like they redid the models, upscaled the texture and all that stuff. It's not a full-blown remake per se, but yeah, it's a pretty big deal because Klonoa's been dead for the past 10 years. His last game, or his last mainline game, was Klonoa Door to Phantom remake on Wii. So yeah, this is a big deal for Klonoa fans because this is basically the only news we've gotten of a brand new Klonoa game in so long. And this could be the potential resurrection of the franchise. At least we hope it is. We dearly hope that this will be the rise of our favorite Cabot Dream Traveler. But anyway, so what could this remake potentially be? I think the most obvious one is it's going to probably be a remake of Klonoa 1 on the Wii. Yeah, I said the Wii, not the PS1, because the PS1 version's a little bit far gone from modern times now because it's got a lot of 2D sprites for its main characters, like Klonoa is a 2D sprite. The only 3D modeled character I think are some of the bosses, some of the friendly enemies, like the fish people, and Gaudius, of course, the main bad guy, he's a 3D model, but for the most part, all the characters' enemies are 2D sprites. And that's kind of hard to translate in a 2.5D game nowadays to make it look good unless you're directly porting it, because it fits more of that style from way back at when. So I think the Wii remake would probably be the basis for it, and I think that's probably what we're going to end up getting, if I'm being realistic. It's probably just going to be an upscaled version of the Wii remake of Door to Phantom, which means we'd be getting a remake of a remake, which is pretty insane that Klonoa is getting a remake of a remake instead of getting a new game. But I think that's what he needs right now. So this is like basically Klonoa's third chance at life. He had his second chance when the remake came out, so it only makes sense if he's going to have a third chance at life, he's got to re-release the first game a third time. Technically fourth time if you want to count the PlayStation Network re-release of the first game from PlayStation 1. But we're not going to count that because that's a direct port. This is like a remake of a remake. And I think that's like my realistic expectation if this copyright rumor is to be true. And I did look into it more. It does look like they updated the Klonoa Wii page from the Wii remake on the Nintendo website 3 or 4 days ago. So yeah, I guess it does look like it's going to happen one way or another, and a lot of reliable people have come out saying it. So I'm fully in the camp that we are getting a Klonoa remake in some capacity. I say in some capacity because I think there's a lot you could do with Klonoa in terms of remake. You could remake the Wii version again, which is pretty much the only option if you want to remake Door of Phantom again, is you have to base it off the Wii version. But there is a certain Klonoa game that came out after. Yeah, we know it. It's Klonoa 2. It's only had that one release in the PlayStation 1. And it sold terribly. So getting your hands on Klonoa 2 nowadays is a nightmare. Unless you want to emulate it, which the emulation is not perfect right now. There's a lot of flashing textures, a lot of missing things. Well, I mean, it works for the most part, but it's not a perfect emulation. So the only way to perfectly play Klonoa 2 right now is to buy a PlayStation 2 and shill out like $80 to $100 to get a good copy of Klonoa 2. And that's pretty terrible. It makes the game is not very accessible. That means if we do get a remake of Klonoa 1 again, and it does well, no one's going to have really a way to play its sequel. So we're just going to be kind of stuck in the water. Unless, and this is what I hope, they do both games. And I don't mean like they do one game and then they do the other. I mean, I hope they do them both at the same time. Because Klonoa games are really short, only about like 3 to 5 hours at, like, I'm being a little bit generous. So by modern standards, that's extremely short. And I don't know if people want to shill out $40 to $60 for a 3 to 5 hour platformer that they're going to beat in an evening, and that's not very difficult. Yeah, so I think the best course of action, which they're probably not going to do, this is like my wet dream, is they do a remake, a soft remake, I'm going to call it, of 1 and 2 in the same package. Sort of like how they do the Spyro trilogy and the Crash trilogy, which we've seen are very successful and very well received by both fans and newcomers alike. So I'd really like to see both Klonoa 1 and 2 put on the same game as a collection. Like, call it the Klonoa Dream Collection. There you go. Hey, you could even include the 2 GBA games as bonuses. Like, there's so much you could do. Because Klonoa, despite being not very well known, is a pretty beefy franchise with about 8 games, 2 Game Boy games, 1 Game Boy exclusive RPG in Japan. It's got a Wonder Swan game. We don't need to worry about that one. That one sucks anyway. And we have Beach Volleyball, which we don't need to talk about anyway. But my point is that he's got a lot of games, and there's a lot of little bonuses you could probably throw into a Klonoa collection, even if it's only 2 games, which is 1 and 2. So yeah, that's what I really want. I think at the very worst, we are getting, at the very least, I should say, we are getting Klonoa 1 Wii version, upscaled and soft remade for probably the Switch, it looks like. That's what seems to be coming out, as people are saying it's going to be on the Switch, and I totally believe it because that's what Katamari Damacy Reroll came out on. And Klonoa obviously has no stranger to Nintendo. He's been, the first remake was only on the Wii, and of course he had Game Boy exclusive games. So he's not really a Sony character, and specifically despite the 2 mainline games, 1 and 2, first appearing on, PlayStation 1 and 2 respectively. So yeah, that's really all I have to do on the speculation front. Could this lead to Klonoa 3 is one of the big questions, if like they were to do both games and they sold well. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if Namco has a passion to make a new Klonoa game. I don't know if it'd be worth it to make a new Klonoa game, but I do think it is worth it to at least upscale and re-release 1 and 2 in a modern time and see how it does. Give Klonoa a 3rd chance at life, and this time, please, for the love of God, market it correctly. Do not just sit on your ass and do nothing, please, Namco, please. Please, Namco. Now, outside of Klonoa games, people are probably going to ask, Klonoa and Smash? No, I don't think that's going to happen. That implies that Namco would be getting a 2nd character to begin with, and obviously he's not the front runner there. We got Tekken and Tales of Symphonia that are probably more on the mind of gamers right now, because Tales obviously still ongoing. Tekken 7 is a big, huge success, and still makes regular EVO appearances despite being released like 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know when Tekken 7 released, maybe 3 years ago, I might be exaggerating, but yeah, very popular ongoing games, so I don't know if Klonoa would be the pick for Smash. That's just a little off-topic thing, but thought it'd be worth mentioning. So yeah, that's about it for the Klonoa news. Yeah, we can just sit back and hope they announce these new games soon. I don't know when they're going to announce them. We just had a Nintendo Direct pass, nothing happened, then the Tokyo Game Show ended last week, and now we're finally getting news of this copyright thing and said the games are going to be announced soon. Okay, then, I don't know when they're going to announce it. Maybe they're just going to announce it on their own, which I think would be really stupid, because, man, I want to do a fun reaction to me just seeing Klonoa finally making his return. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know if anyone else is going to do a video talking about the recent Klonoa news, but I thought I would take the initiative and do it myself and rack in that glorious YouTube ad revenue. Actually, that's a lie. I don't get ad revenue. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you all maybe next time. Bye.